So you're aware that you're eating your feelings. You're aware that you're using food. I'm going to share with you how I stopped using marijuana as an analogy to show you a couple steps how you can stop eating your feelings. So this is something I normally don't talk about. It's a personal topic for me, but overcoming marijuana is one of the core reasons I feel down in my core I'm qualified to help people with their emotional, psychological, and mindset around dieting and losing weight. Because marijuana and food, they both serve the same purpose. You are upset, you're stressed. I know I was incredibly lonely and anxious and depressed. And so I would just numb with weed. Make that pain go away. Now, the same thing can be happening with food too. You have anxiety, yada, yada, yada. You're stressed, you're lonely, you break up, someone says something, you go to food. You have a negative feeling, incredibly strong, intense, seems like it's never going to go away. It's easy, convenient, it feels good to use food or to use marijuana to cope with those negative feelings. There are major benefits. It's important to recognize that emotional eating has a lot of benefits. That's one of the reasons why it's so hard to give up. And same with marijuana. Now, if you do find this content useful, just go ahead and leave it a thumbs up, leave it a review. There's also a video down below where I talk more about emotional eating. This topic means so much to me. Now, quick analogy. The big picture of why you emotionally eat is because when you were young, you did not have coping skills, so you learned a shortcut to deal with your emotions. So you were upset when you were younger, you ate food. This is an extremely brief analogy, but we need to have some context. So you used food to cope with your feelings. And that food, every time you used food, it was like carving a hole or a canyon in the ground where water would go. So you have some water, a stream, and now you start carving a canyon. And every time you use food to cope with your emotions, it's like the water goes down that canyon, and you've been doing this for years. So now that canyon is deep, the water flows smoothly. This is a rough analogy. When you start to not use your food to cope with feelings, it is like carving a new canyon. So it is really important to have smaller expectations. This is not something that goes away easily. You are going to relapse. That's one of the things that I stress in weight loss enlightenment. Oftentimes in major dieting programs, you have this impression that you should stick to the diet. Use willpower, just do it. And then you feel like a total failure when you don't stick with it. In weight loss enlightenment, we flip that burden of perfection. We lighten the load. We say, you're going to relapse. Let's learn from it. Let's set off with lower expectations. And in terms of self-care, it's like carving a new canyon. And let me kind of go into this a little bit. I want to give you 2 practical steps. I'll just relate it back to marijuana and then go into the 2 practical steps. First, I started meditating. And instead of smoking weed, I would meditate. But guess what? Meditation is good. I highly recommend it. It's great. It rewires your brain over a long period of time. It's wonderful. But damn, it did not take away my pain. It did not take away my pain. Back in college, I was actually obsessive about meditating because I thought that was one of the only ways I could take away my pain. And I had some pain. So I would even sit cross-legged. I remember my legs would fall asleep. I was just dedicated to meditation. That's why I became a monk afterwards. But in hindsight, I realized I did not have enough tools to properly care for myself. Meditation was a start. But just like you're carving a new canyon, meditation was for me the carving a new canyon. And a canyon, it starts off at flat ground. You got to dig that hole for the water to go that way. So when you first start digging that canyon, it's small. Meditation for me started a self-care process, but I still would be overwhelmed with pain, and I still would smoke weed. That went on for years. So what we need to do is learn a variety of skills. This is the only way to stop eating your feelings. You need to begin a journey where you diversify your self-care skills and practice them and rewire your brain so the water, so to speak, flows through the other canyon. Because one canyon is deep and easy and convenient, and you're familiar with it. That's when you use food to cope with your feelings. When you start to go through this other canyon, it is unfamiliar. It doesn't feel the best in the beginning. Like when I started meditating, it didn't take away all my pain. It didn't. And I would turn back to weed. So that will happen to you. When you start to learn to care for yourself, you're gonna learn to start to feel some of that pain. It's gonna hurt and you're gonna relapse. So we gotta have proper expectations. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. No. If you think that this means that you're failing, or that you can't overcome this problem, or that you can't lose weight, this is not true. You can lose weight. You can become a different person, by eating and exercising, but it's really, really, really important. You also start carving that canyon. Start taking those gentle, easy steps to carve that canyon. With weed, after I started meditating, I really started focusing on my sleep. This was like another deeper, this made my canyon a lot deeper when I started getting proper sleep. So I was meditating, and that helped take away some of the pain. But I had to really improve my self-care skill of sleep. Because I'm in the self-development field. I love self-development. I'm in Silicon Valley. There's entrepreneurs all around me who say, hustle, grind, work 24/7. And man, I work hard, but I took that message to heart. I said, okay, let me study the science of sleep so that I can minimize my sleep. And this backfired on me. I was looking at other people, and I thought I could do all this. I thought I could get less sleep and get away with it. Like, I remember being rigid one time, and every 3 weeks I would decrease my sleep by 15 minutes. And then 3 weeks later I'd decrease it by another 15 minutes. And so over a few months I was down to 7 hours, but I was feeling terrible. And it was only 7 hours. Because for me, I really need 8.5. So coming to terms with this level of self-care was tough for me. It really was tough because so many thoughts would come up, like, you're wasting time, just wake up early, just use your willpower. And that was a struggle for me to rewire my brain to care for myself in this way. But once I did, oh my God, between meditation and sleep, man, that desire, those irresistible cravings, it was starting to fade away. I still smoked weed. My journey wasn't over. But I hope you can see that by practicing self-care, my desire to not eat or to not medicate, to not use a substance to cope with feelings started diminishing. Now you can do this while you're on a health journey, while you're trying to lose weight. Now, first of all, weight loss alignment, we set low expectations for weight loss. So, don't expect to have your ideal body and look amazing in a year. I know a year seems like a ways from now, but you didn't gain the weight over a year. You gained it over a period of years. So it's going to take a little bit longer to lose it in a sustainable way. Because I'm sure you've lost weight and gained it back. But if you want to go on a journey where we really take care of ourselves and really learn the core transformation principles about how you can look and feel a lot better in the long term, you got to embrace these concepts about gradual learning self-care, rewiring your brain, expecting relapse. This is extremely important, expecting relapse. Cannot stress that enough. Long-term expecting relapse is so important. Anyways, the final way I finally overcame weed was by admitting I was lonely, and again doing something, trying to hang out with more people, being more social, trying to make friends instead of using people, this was the final stage of my healing. And again, the same limiting beliefs came up that, these people aren't worth my time. I could be working. My time would have been better spent elsewhere. They didn't meet my needs, yada, 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 yada. But, I started realizing, hey, I had a good time with these people. I had a good time, even though, whatever, maybe not the best time, but I had a good time. And you don't need to have the best time. So, and what's funny is that as I took care of myself, my productivity actually went up, because there's a difference, just side tangent real quick. There's a big difference between being busy and getting work done. Like, these videos are getting work done. They're actually putting something out there that is getting more people from Google to hear my message. Instead of me redesigning my website for the umpteenth time, I'm actually getting a result. And I wouldn't have the courage, the stamina, the transparency, the authenticity that I try to bring here. I wouldn't be able to do my own research on these videos if I wasn't taking care of myself through friends, sleep, and meditation. So we try not to become an emotional eater. That's great. Hell yeah, that's great. Don't settle for anything less than long-term transformation. Don't settle for anything less than self-care. It is self-care. You can, when you're asking how to not eat your feelings, the answer is self-care. But self-care means more than just meditating 20 minutes a day. It's an outlook where you're rewiring your brain, and expecting that this rewiring process is going to take some time. There's going to be some struggles. And to realize and have compassion for yourself when you do relapse. Because you got to realize that canyon, that you've been using food for years. Food is convenient. It takes away your pain instantly. You're doing something tough when you practice self-care. It's really tough to practice self-care. So to have proper expectations is so important. That's how you stop being an emotional eater, how you stop eating your feelings. That's all I got. Now here's a practical exercise. I want to leave every video with some sort of exercise. The basic exercise is practicing some form of self-care with proper expectations. So a proper expectation, if you are eating your feelings, is to meditate for 5 minutes. Just listen to your breath, try to feel your body, notice if there's any tension in your jaw for 5 minutes. Now, what'll happen is you might the pain might overwhelm you. If you are stressed out, if you're used to using food to cope with your emotions, when you first take that break from food and you sit there for 5 minutes, the pain might skyrocket. But when you breathe, and that's minute 1, skyrocketing pain. When you breathe, relax your jaw, relax your body, try to stay present, you might notice a slight diminishing of that pain. That's the exercise. Notice that as you practice self-care, the pain diminishes. And then you can use food to cope. It's okay. When you're just learning these skills, you gotta set low expectations. You're rewiring your brain. So you first you're starting to practice increasing your pain tolerance and rewiring your brain. So the key is to notice the pain diminishing. Now, in the beginning, the pain is going to be too much for you to actually avoid and actually prevent yourself from emotional eating. Although you might. Maybe you find out that you don't need to emotionally eat. That's great. If you do emotionally eat, it's okay. Just keep practicing. You gotta carve out that canyon. It's gonna take time, but you can do it. As you do it more and more, that water is gonna start flowing down that canyon. You'll just feel more drawn to taking care of yourself. And the canyon will get deeper. And it'll become part of your lifestyle. And then you'll stop emotionally eating. So, have a good day. Peace.